Hi, I'm Bran, and I love Hallmark Christmas movies.
I'm Brian. I like Hallmark Christmas movies.
I'm Dan, and I despise Hallmark Christmas movies.
And I'm Doug, and I love Hallmark Christmas movies.
And this is the
Deck the Hallmark podcast. Deck the Hallmark, it's his podcast.
Brandon and friends host this podcast.
We hope you like this jolly podcast.
I love that Doug
boy.
introduces himself as Doug, as if he's not
That's
Doug
right.
Jones.
The Doug Jones. What we do in the
Unbelievable.
shadows, Doug Jones.
Unbelievable.
Star Trek Discovery, Doug Jones. Guillermo
Dougie.
del Toro's Monster, Doug Jones. Hellboy, others. The Doug Jones is here with us.
It's one of our favorite traditions, having old Dougie here. Dougie, Merry Christmas to you.
Oh, Merry Christmas to you, puppies! You know, this is one of my favorite things I do every year. This has become a Christmas tradition for me to be with you guys.
And I will say this, just to brag on Doug, because he never brags on himself. Doug found time for us, like made it work. And he does every year. The dude is busy. He's nonstop. And for some reason, we are blessed enough that Doug makes some time for us. Doug, thank you so much for doing that. Seriously, man.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor because I really do love Hallmark. I wasn't making that up. I love Hallmark Christmas movies. So to talk about them, it's a joy.
Now, I know one of your many traditions is around this time of year, you'll work and then you'll come home and you'll unwind with a Hallmark Christmas movie. I know you've been busy. Have you had the time to watch many of the new ones yet? And if so, do you have one that's kind of sticking out to you? Aside from following Yonder Star,
Right,
which we'll
don't
get to
give
in a
that
minute.
away.
Well, we're going to get to that because it is indeed a standout for me this year. I loved the sequel to Three Wise Men and a Baby.
Yeah.
Three Wiser Men and a Boy was top notch.
Gotta
Really
love it.
fun stuff there.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Are you done working for the year? Are you in full Christmas mode?
I'm actually doing a huge monologue and a cameo for a movie tomorrow.
Okay.
So I'm memorizing dialogue, and I took this breakout here to, I'm at that stage since I'm not working in so many rubber bits anymore as much. I'm playing a lot of humans, and these humans I'm playing, they come to me for like the mad scientist or the serial killer. At the end of every movie, though, I have this huge monologue to explain why I've been doing what I've been doing, twisting my mustache. So these monologues are killer to memorize. Yeah.
What is one Christmas tradition that you haven't done yet this year that you're looking forward to once you're done with the monologue and whatnot?
Right. Well, actually Christmas Day, which is one of the fun things that we do. We have a house full of family over here. We always host here. And I'm given all kinds of gifts over the year at the conventions I visit.
Mm-hmm.
Some things I can keep, some things I just don't have room to keep. I cherish them. I'm so sweet. Let them live in my house for a year. And at the end of the year, what can I put it all in a grab bag and I pass it around the room and everybody has to take something home with them.
Oh, that's
Love
fun.
it. I love it.
My
That's fantastic.
my daughter loves this. She's like, "Oh, what's in the grab bag?"
Hey, you got to invite us over one year. I'd love
I
to get
know.
my hands on the grab bag. That's for sure. We are talking.
gotta be a better way to say
I
that.
said what I said, and I stand by it. I got to get my hands on the grab bag.
All right, Brandon.
Is that what the kids are calling it?
Sit a few plays out.
He
I
thinks
can't.
so.
I can't. I got to talk following Yonder Star. Let's break it down. In case you missed it, originally aired on Hallmark on December 15th, 2024. It was a big grab bag that day, but this is the one that aired on the Hallmark Channel. It went a little something like this. Abby Marshall is a famous actor who has spent many years on a show called Guiding Grace. She seems to really resent her character of Gabriella because everybody only knows her as that role. This show has been canceled, though, and her ex-husband, who also played her husband on the show, is getting remarried and is expecting a baby. She is shocked by this because she thought that he didn't want kids. Right after this, she loses it on a store clerk who keeps calling her Gabriella and refuses to be understanding about an ornament situation. This causes quite the crowd to form, including many people filming it. And that incident goes viral, painting her in a bad light. Abby decides that she wants to leave LA, so she quickly books a room at a resort. But when she gets there, she realizes a bit of a mix-up has occurred. The mix-up being that Abby booked for the wrong year. Who hasn't? The concierge, though, suggests a B&B nearby that she knows for a fact has one room left for her. So she shows up and is immediately, it's not what she's expecting. The guy who's running the B&B, his name is Nick, and he's very awkward because he recognizes her, and he explains that his late wife was a huge fan of hers. The townspeople are buzzing that Abby is staying there, not because they're big fans of hers, but because she just went viral for being a diva. This is big news for the town. Abby ends up helping with the town's Christmas pageant that Nick is directing. His late wife used to direct it before she passed, and he's keeping her legacy alive by doing this pageant. Nick's daughter is even in the play, and as cute as can be. There are some prayers and mentions of God because this is a Dayspring movie, and they're contractually obligated to. I believe that is the reason. Zoe is Nick's sister-in-law, and she's very concerned about Nick being into Abby, and Abby's just kind of hanging around him and with the daughter, and Nick is like, shove off, it's fine, she's my daughter, everything is going to be okay. Nick and Abby have a romantic evening together, including a carriage ride through the woods, some hot chocolate, some stargazing. What's not to love? It is the final dress rehearsal, and Abby is in her element. She is born to direct. Then there is a Christmas masquerade ball because that's something that definitely happens at least somewhere, I'm sure. Abby tries to stay anonymous, but is called out by a townsperson who just does not like her. Abby stands up for herself, and this time, though, it's not recorded. Didn't record that
all
one.
the time and out there.
Nick and Abby slow dance to a Jennifer Hudson song. Big week for Jennifer Hudson. I think she's been in every movie. Abby tells Nick that she's having such a good time and wants to extend her stay through New Year before going back to LA for filming. They try to end the night with a kiss, but they are interrupted 3 separate times. This is a big week for the interrupted kiss.
Yes.
This is a lot. It's 3 times. And so that's tough. Her agent calls her, though, right after this and tells her that she needs to come in for a screen test on the 26th. The network is nervous about the bad press that she's received, and so she no longer has this role in the bag. But she doesn't want to let the kids down and leave immediately, and so she's like, I don't want to do this. So the agent tips the media off that she's directing this pageant as some sort of charity work, and so they show up. Nick finds out about this and thinks that it is Abby that tipped off the press, and so she is mad. He's mad at her about this and tells her, hey, this is my wife's legacy here, and you're not going to use it for publicity. The pageant begins, and one of the kids forgets the lines, and so Abby, who did not leave towns, ends up showing up to help her, and it becomes an improv show.
Yeah, it does.
We love good improv.
Especially around
bad
the
improv.
That's
nativity,
right.
Yeah.
We love nativity improv.
Nativity improv. I saw them live.
Incredible.
Unbelievable.
Abby wants to stop playing this perfect character, and instead she just wants to stay here, and so she turns down the role and is just going to hang around town for a while. Abby and Nick kiss as the night sky shines upon them, the star, if you will, and that, my friends, was Following Yonder Star.
We did it.
Let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. Doug Jones will be joining us to break this movie down here on Deck the Hallmark.
I was drinking water, and you got there real fast, and it
I
was either
apologize.
try to like get to Deck the Hallmark or just take the sit.
Do you want to welcome them back by yourself?
Yeah, welcome back, everybody, to Deck the Hallmark. We're talking Following Yonder Star with our good buddy Doug Jones. Brand, how many segments do we have on
We
this
have
show?
4 segments on this show to help break it down. We're going to start with a hot take. It's where we share exactly how we felt about this movie. We do not hold back. Brian, I'll let you start. I'll let you show Doug Jones how hot takes are done.
Yeah,
this
that's
is
right.
big
Yeah, of
pressure.
course. Yeah,
big
listen up.
pressure.
Here we go.
And so
Wind on the
Brian.
pitch. Here we go.
Brian, what'd you think about following Yonder
I
Star?
liked it.
I didn't mind it at all.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a new way to say that.
I wasn't mad at it. Expectations for me were kind of low.
Low,
which
yeah.
It's tough because Brooke, John, I mean, these
Yeah.
we
Heavy hitters.
big time heavy hitters, and I really didn't want to be let down by it. And I wasn't at all. I was actually the way that people talked about Abby in public, like they didn't when they didn't know she was there.
Yeah.
Is how in my head people talk and think about me anytime I'm doing something. Like that's the worst case scenario. And so
I just
seeing-
say it right to your face.
you
though,
do,
Brian.
and I appreciate it because
Yeah.
I know you're thinking it.
Well, you are a diva. You are a diva. So.
Yeah. So it's just nice
Yeah.
to be represented on the screen like that.
Yeah.
It felt like there were stakes. Like the 1-2 punch of this little girl, her mom has passed, and oh, she's also the daughter of the innkeeper. I was like, oh, okay, we got some stuff going on here. Brooke's character Abby had the worst people in her life, like her manager who's not looking out for her at all. So there's stuff going on there. I really like the lessons of how the person who plays a character on TV, that's not who they are in real life. Like they're different. And they didn't let up. Like they kept that kind of going and she fought back.
Doug Jones is a literal monster. You didn't know that? He's a literal monster.
I'm talking just
He
on
put on
Hallmark.
makeup
Yeah.
for this show,
That's
but
right.
normally he looks like an actual
Right.
monster.
I know that. I know that. I
You're
watch
onto
it.
me, Dan.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool that they committed to that and kept bringing it up and showing these different scenarios where people were acting very rude and like they thought they were allowed to talk to her and about her like that. It's like you can't
Yeah.
do that. She's a human. She's a person. Take note, viewers of TV and movie.
There you go.
So yeah, I was really surprised by it. And I had a pretty good time with it.
Dougie, I want to ask you, as an actor who has had some pretty memorable roles, before you share your hot take, has this ever happened to you where you're in public and someone comes up to you and just refuses to call you by your name and just continues to press you as if you're like actually the person that you or the monster that you portrayed in a movie or whatever?
Right, not in public to my face so much, but on the social media when I'm getting.
Sure.
There was one fan in particular when I was on Falling Skies who refused to call me anything but Cochise, the alien I played on that show. I was like, yeah, I would sign off. Thanks so much, Dougie.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Cochise. Yeah,
Oh,
it never
boy.
stopped.
Yes.
It was their thing.
It was their thing. It's a fun thing that they do. What'd you think about this movie? I'm interested to hear from an actor, like your thoughts on this movie.
Right, and as an actor, I have to give props to the writers of this first. Well, let's John Elliott Jordan and Carly Mantilla Jordan knocked this out of the park from an actor's perspective. They really knew the showbiz and the idea of celebrity and how dangerous it can be out there now in this world we have, where everyone has a cell phone that is a journalist and a paparazzi. Right, everyone. You can't do jack nothing anymore. So I loved how, and what you were just talking about, the balance between your characters on TV or film and your real life personage and how people treat you in your life, how real humans treat you. There was a line when the innkeeper, Nick, I loved how out of the loop he was with
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
the
so
social media news.
classic.
He didn't know jack nothing.
Proactively out of the loop.
Right. Yeah. On purpose. And when that one guest lady of the inn recognized Brooke's character, Abby, as that lady from that TV show, but she's a scandalous, and she was like all nitty pitty at her, and Nick stepped in to say, hey, and to remind her that we all have our bad day, we all have meltdowns. You saw me with the plumbing the other day, do that. And he said what was his quote? I don't think you want your most vulnerable moments broadcast to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, that rings in my head that, I'm really glad that I'm an older actor, because in my younger day, I'm glad that everything wasn't recorded, on the street and in my personal life back in the day. So I get that a lot. But the overall impression of this movie, it was so good. I thought the writing was hilarious and touching all at the same time. I laughed, and they got tears out of me. This is rare. I love my Hallmark movies, but to actually get wet in the eyes more than once, and they did their job. That whole theme of hope, that you'll get me every time with the hope, and following the star and the light in a dark place. You get me every time. And they still included all of the Hallmark tropes that I long for. a big city kind of idea, like getting away to a small town, finding love there, reevaluating life. That's all there for me. It's all there. And I loved every minute of this one. I really did. And Brooke Dorsey and John Brotherton. Are they? Mrs. Lori and I watched this together, and I kept pausing to go, are they not the most adorable couple?
Yep.
The chemistry was so right between the two of them. They were both so on point with their comedic timing and their sentiments. That's some of the best Hallmark acting I've ever seen. Oh, and Brooke Dorsey has the best hair on that channel.
Great hair.
Yeah,
Great
her
hair.
hair was on point.
It's always on
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
I agree. This movie is, in a word, charming. It just wins you over, and these two are incredible together. I think some of the best chemistry that we've seen this year is these two together. I thought his character was really funny, and he could have just been this goofball guy who's out of the loop the whole movie. But then we have these scenes. Like the scene where he prays really worked for me. I thought that he acted the heck out of that scene, and really showed off.
You could even say you acted the hell out of it.
I would. I would.
Pray.
More
You see
accurate,
what
actually.
happened there? Yeah.
So I found this movie to be incredibly charming and lovely, and a nice closeout to this week. I thought it was really nice. Dano?
Yeah, expectations for these movies matter. This was a Dayspring movie. Last year's Dayspring movie made me sick to my stomach. They also did an Easter movie that made me act upon being sick to my stomach. I was expecting the worst of the worst because the Dayspring track record has not been good. They have been movies that have been
for yourself.
They have been overt in their proselytizing. They've been movies that take scripture out of context.
Yeah.
They've been movies that do a
Friends
lot
love language.
do a lot terrible for good people of faith.
Yeah.
This movie subverted all of those expectations. It's the best Dayspring movie, which is faint praise.
Okay.
It's the best
Give it up.
Dayspring movie that they've ever made. And I will say, to echo at this point the sound of the echoing, John Brotherton and Brooke Dorsey are phenomenal. I said, the Santa class is at or near the top of what I think most people's list at this point. Not mine, but I think most people have it near the top of their list. And I said during that episode, I cared about things in this movie more than I cared about anything in the Santa class. And that's true. And the things I cared about in this movie more were Brooke Dorsey and John Brotherton. They both are giving excellent performances. And they're, like you said, Doug, they're not hammering you over the head with dumb Christmas metaphors or Christian lingo. They're like opening up the tent, widening the spectrum to go, the ideas of hope and faith and needing something positive in your life are universal. They're not ideas that are just working for you if you follow a certain church or a certain denomination. I appreciated that greatly. And in fact, until the last 15 minutes of this movie, where I think it gets very generic. Most of my feels in this movie happen before the last 15 minutes, where we have a classic misunderstanding. We have a classic big city girl who's just decided acting's no longer, I'm just done with acting. At least I'm going to move to this small Vermont town. And some of that felt a little bit rote to me. Before then, it is it's charming. It's not my thing. It's very generic Hallmark, but good on you, Dayspring, and good on you, Brooke Dorsey and John Brotherton, for taking the material you're given and for the writers to punch this up in a way that leaves you with something that has some real emotion to it. So pleasantly surprised, because this was at the bottom of my list for expectation this year, and it did not end up anywhere near there as we round out the season.
How about that?
There you go.
How about
That might be the least curmudgeonly I've ever heard you, Dan. It's
I
lovely.
know. You're welcome, Doug.
You're
I mean,
rubbing off on him.
to be fair, let's look back at some of Doug Jones' episodes. Those are some real stinkers sometimes.
Doug tends to join us towards the end
end
of
of
the
the year
year,
where we
and
get
that
some
can either go really good or really
troubling
bad.
films.
How do you
So-
join us next week? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
We got 2 movies left, and
Yeah.
the expectations are
Yeah.
low for those ones.
Yeah.
Let's get to all the feels, where we talk about when this movie gave us feels in particular. Brian?
Yeah. To quote Letterboxd user Emily, the real star is that little diva playing Mary. Phenomenal. The look, I think her
Did
name
you
was.
ask Letterboxd user Mary before you quoted her?
I did not. That's why I did not give her last name. No, Letterbox user Emily.
Emily,
There's
my bad.
more to
You
that
said
name.
Mary
Letterboxd
didn't leave
user
her-
Mary.
leave her
Mary,
a
did
review.
you know that Emily left a review for following Yonder
I think
Star?
Eloise, I believe, is her character name in this. She when they do that whole thing with Abby giving her advice, and then the look she gives Nick, like
Yeah.
that look
Yeah.
was like one of the best looks I've seen all season. It was so funny. She was great. Her whole thing with her being a diva was like so well done, and so she was a lot of fun.
Dougie,
Oh my gosh, the feels. Do you have a minute?
we have a minute. We got all the minutes.
Because I had so many feels on this one. One thing that I really could relate to, again, as an actor, having been in a scenario where I talk to people who have seen my work, right? The one thing I love about the convention circuit so much that I do is hearing one by one what people's personal stories are and what they were watching of mine at the time something was happening in their own life. So I hear a lot of stories about a death in the family, a recovery from cancer, a graduation from school. I was during finals week, I did whatever, where I was a part of someone's life without even knowing about it, and big things were happening for them. I've had people come up to my table holding a baby saying that, we watched The Shape of Water as our first date, and there they are married now with a kid. It's like, no, I love being part of people's lives. It really means the world to me. So when everyone was when Nick, played by the brilliant John Brotherton, was telling Brooke Dorsey's Abby about watching Gabriella on TV and how much that meant to his dearly departed wife, Natalie.
Yeah.
Okay, so he had some life, and Natalie's end of life was spent with Gabriella on TV being a very big part of her life and her comfort. And so for him to tell her that, I got a little bit welled up in the eyes again. It's like, well, that's happening. Okay, I get it. And then what really got me though welled up was when Natalie's dearly departed Natalie's sister, Nick's sister-in-law, was kind of skeptical about Abby at first, like, who's this woman? What is she doing? She brings scandal to our town with her. I'm protective of little Lucy. But when she softened and had, let's bake cookies together and get to know each other, oh gosh, that conversation they had also brought tears back to my eyes again, because she recounted also how much that show meant to her and her sister Natalie. They watched it together, and at first sister-in-law Zoe was kind of like, a little bit like eye rolling, kind of like a Dan in the world. She was kind of like, I don't know, and she got looped in and she got absorbed into the show and saw its worth and its value, and these two sisters shared it together before Natalie passed away. Again, sharing that with Abby. It just kind of like, those are moments validate an actor more than because once we film something and it's out there, we don't know the effect it has until we hear something like this back again from the people who watched it. The biggest feel for me then came after that prayer you mentioned, when Nick had his Dayspring moment. And now, being a person of faith myself, I've seen a lot of faith-based movies. I've seen a lot of like, here's the prayer moment.
That's right.
That come to Jesus moment can be done really, really, really poorly, or it can be done really well. This was the best prayer on film I have ever seen. Honestly, it was relatable. It was not preachy. It was just, and he had such raw, real emotion as he was talking to God, and he mentioned things we can all relate to. Like, he wanted to do right by his former wife Natalie. He wanted to do right by his daughter Lucy, and the tears were coming genuinely with him. And the most beautiful thing he said in that prayer that we can all relate to is, I've been walking through the dark a long time. I could really use some light. Mm-hmm. Come on now. And that got me, I'm about to go again. Stop it. All the feel.
Yeah. No, that was going to be mine. I just thought that scene was so powerful because of its relatability and obviously the acting chops of it. I just thought that it was beautifully written and beautifully acted all the way around. Dano?
Yeah, I would say, I'll get back to that in a second. Brooke has a scene where she wells up crying. And so many times in this movies, we've either seen actors that are supposed to cry and they don't, or the crying has been added, like they cut away, and then you see they clearly brought some Visine in and like did a thing. But this like hold on Brooke Dorsey's face as you see the tears well up, and then one perfectly just drops. It like, come on, like that is not. We don't
She's
see that
good.
on Hallmark. Like,
She's
that's
good.
That's next level good. I was very impressed with that. And then everyone said it, but I think John Brotherton, what he does in that scene, that's the scene where normally I'm getting my list of complaints out. Like one of my least favorite things about growing up in church is formal prayer. If you listen to prayers in church or in before a meal, they're usually filled with platitudes and big words and scripture references to make everyone realize how awesome you are.
Daddy God.
Yeah. And
Daddy
so
God.
this prayer, like sometimes life is so bad that your only hope is that something greater cannot not be real. You know, it's that something, there has to be something that, and you don't know for sure, but there has to be something that is, you can rest in something. And this prayer by this guy is not only expertly written, but expertly delivered in a way that can make people who are sick and tired of the prayers they've heard in church their whole life go, oh, that's what it's like to lean on something that you don't exactly know and to hope. And that really made my heart happy. So I was very, very happy with that.
I think
Aside from him walking stage left off real
Yeah,
quick,
he
I thought
said,
that was weird.
I prayed and then
and he just took off stage left, and I thought that was weird.
Sometimes
but
you
that's
pray
not
and you
my
walk
decision, and it could have easily been edited where he didn't do that. Yeah, go ahead.
Brooks, I think I heard Brooks' motivation in that scene for the tearing up was thinking about the hair on everybody else
That's right.
that don't have her hair.
They don't have her hair. That's
It
right.
just
They're like,
chokes her
really-
out.
there's
yeah.
some people out there acting
the
without
empathy.
this hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's so compassionate.
Yeah.
It's she's the empathy. It's unmatched.
level.
It's
Unbelievable.
unmatched.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and do the wait one, the what, the Hallmark here on Deck the Hallmark.
Taking a
Well, I don't know
drink.
what yours
Taking a
is.
drink.
Do you want to explain yourself?
Yeah, what did you have?
I was thinking about taking. I was fixing to take a
You were
drink.
fixing to get ready.
You were thinking about taking a drink.
Fixing to get ready to take
Do you
a
want
drink.
to? Do you want to?
Yeah,
bring,
bring
us
it back. Yeah, we're back. Welcome back, Deck the Hallmark.
All right,
Here with
that was
Deck,
okay.
Doug Jones, ready for our third
It's
segment.
maybe not where you shine.
Gonna get that drink now.
Let's get to the wait what. Since we were talking about one, this movie made us go wait what. Brian?
Yeah, little girl Lucy says she's gonna go get a jacket, and she comes back with like I don't know what that's called, a shawl of sort. They're
Yeah,
in
get outta
Vermont
here. Get
in the
outta here.
winter. That thing's not touching the cold.
Vermont is still above the Mason-Dixon line, yes?
It would be hard to tell from this movie.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
supposed to be. It didn't feel cold at all. That was just a
No,
big
it didn't,
overall
no.
observation of this movie. I've been to Vermont. I know what Vermont feels like. It doesn't
Well,
look like
All right,
it
it's
feels
humble
very,
brag over
It's
there.
so like you get used to it, and then the agent shows up with 10 layers and puffy coat on, and you're reminded that's how everyone should probably be dressed.
Yeah, the healthy way to dress.
Yeah.
Like, what are we trying to catch? Trying to catch a cold?
Yeah.
out here.
Yeah. That was brutal.
It was just a little weird when Brooke jumped on stage with the kids.
You think so?
I think it was a little weird.
It was more than a little weird.
I thought I wanted the heart thing. I don't know. It was just weird to me.
It's baby's first
It was
improv.
borderline don't make me sing territory.
Yeah.
She's an actor.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you need me to get on stage, huh? Like it was a little bit of that.
Oh, there's a robe? Okay.
I'm with you. Yeah.
And the star at the end, it felt rushed. I wanted more from it. Maybe slow it down a minute, take a beat. It just felt a little rushed. I feel like it was really beautiful. It looked really great. It was a big moment, but all of a sudden it was here and it was gone. And maybe that's stars for us. Maybe that's what it
That's
is.
stars for us. Doug, what made you go wait what while you were watching this movie?
Just a couple things. Okay. First of all, a screen test on December 26th would never, ever, ever happen. Yeah, our show business shuts down between Christmas and New Year's.
Can
There's
you
no such
imagine,
thing.
Doug, you having to run lines on Christmas with your family?
Right.
You're like,
Right.
hey,
Nobody gets their
I
hand in the
hope that-
bag
that's
until-
right. I hope the gifts are great, kids. But now that we've done that, everyone's getting a script in your stocking. And if you could do your best, because I've got to get this thing done.
The grab bag this year is all scripts.
That's right.
And we're all going to have a good time.
Exactly. We're all going to study. Yeah. So there's that. Also, I was kind of tickled that a small town theater company, a small town church theater group would have racks and racks and racks of Broadway costuming.
Yeah.
Right.
They,
now, I know that like it was explained briefly that, that the dearly departed Natalie had a friend who was a producer on Broadway, but they never explained how did she have what?
and they shipped them all up there, and they explained that, but they didn't explain all the professional lighting and like spotlights and did you also have friends that did set deck too? Like a lot of friends on Broadway. Yeah,
a lot of friends on Broadway. But they did bring it back around. I see why they had to have those costumes there so that Brooke's Abby character could come out as, you know, My Fair Lady in that beautiful gown. But there's the other wait what for me. She ducked behind a couple rows of clothes to change and came back with a completely updo in her hair.
Yes.
That she did without a mirror in the dark. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
With hair that good, you don't have to try.
That's right.
That's where the hair and
It's
makeup
easy.
people hide out back
That's
there.
right.
She wakes up
That's
like
right.
that in the morning.
That's right. Also when she came back, when she reappeared at the back of the church, when her little angel protege was forgetting her lines, she just happened to reach over to the rack of choir robes that just happened to be white and happened to be at the entrance and happened to be within reach. Right.
Perfect.
That was kind of would they be sitting right there at the? Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, bless.
Indeed.
Shout out to the team that got the the nice fire area ready to go in the woods with baskets of marshmallows.
Yeah.
So that no matter what, the nice thing about the cold is the marshmallows don't get hard at all.
No.
And so you just leave them out,
You leave
open
'em out.
air, open air schmallows.
That's right.
And buckets and baskets full of them, because you never know how many you're going to need.
The small
So
ones,
many
big
marshmallows.
ones, all kinds.
So many
That's right.
marshmallows. So
right.
many marshmallows ready to go at any time. And I wish the world was more like that. I've seen TMZ. I know how it works. How it doesn't work is the paparazzi being very respectful of the other paparazzi
That's
person
right. Yeah.
as they ask their question.
That's right.
You go first,
Yeah.
then I'll go, and then you go, and and then no one else. It's the two of us. It's the two of us asking questions, and none of the other ones are going to get a question in, because the paparazzi, they're very respectful of your time and of each other's time, and that's the one thing that I've learned in my years of watching TMZ. Dan?
Well, that's because they could afford 2 day players, and the
The rest were extras. They're new to the job. They're new
Background
to it.
actors don't know how to be mean paparazzi.
That's right.
They just can't
Interns.
do it. They
How
can't
can
do
I?
it.
How can I yell out without actually yelling out?
Yeah.
One of those. Dan?
We love to push diversity and inclusion on Hallmark, and we love that they're doing it. Vermont is 92% white people. 92%. And that must be excluding this town, which is a cornucopia of people in Vermont that doesn't exist anywhere else in Vermont, but does happen to exist in this one wonderful town with all the Broadway runway clothes and trees and spotlights and a full diversity where every people group it's 92% white, folks. Look it up. Google it. It's 92% white. You got a 9.2 out of 10% chance of running into a white
But
person.
you know what? That has to change somehow.
That's right.
And this
Yeah.
is where it
starts
starts.
here.
Does it?
Absolutely.
It starts here.
Yeah. It's very, very cold, but not cold enough for the cider stand to show you baskets of fresh fruit. That's like, how do you make this cider? Well, I've got a bushel basket full of apples and full of oranges that are out here in the 20-degree cold, and they're doing just fine. Thank you very much.
The basket budget on this movie
was
was
crazy.
Big on
How
baskets.
will they know that it's a cider stand in 20-degree weather? What about 30 oranges?
Pick
What
your
about
own.
30 oranges.
It's a good crop.
It's a good crop of oranges for the cider.
You've heard of pick your own Christmas tree. This is pick your own orange.
I also love Magic Telescope. I wish I had Magic Telescope. Big fan of Magic Telescope. Look in this telescope. It's a cartoon of that star. That star isn't. That was unbelievable. That was Who Framed Roger Rabbit level of superimposition of animation. I love Magic Telescope. Big fan. I love the idea of John Brotherton always standing up for her honor and not letting anybody talk bad about her worst moment. He's watching that video, right? Like he is, after, in the privacy of his own home, he is going to at least see the
quiet moment after the inn's quiet, everybody's asleep.
There's no world,
Dougie, you're the best of
where
all four of us.
Listen,
You're
he's
watching that video,
falling
right?
in love with this woman. Everyone's asleep. Yeah, thank you. Okay. He's gonna watch, so that way he knows better how to defend her. He's watching that video.
Yeah,
Like,
even the reason for watching it is honorable.
yes, he's not gonna be like, I don't care. I'm not gonna watch it. I don't care.
Well, the thing is too, when you watch that video, you find out that the narrative around the video is much worse than what she did on film in the first place.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, and I think he should watch it to learn that.
Right.
I 100% don't want to stay at this inn. It seems like problems are happening everywhere all the time for everyone, and also that John Brotherton isn't capable of fixing them. He doesn't. He runs an inn with constant plumbing problems, and he can't fix any of them. Good thing Brooke Dorsey's there to operate on a tub in what I can only describe as the quietest plumbing of all time. He is standing there, and we get a close up, and she reattaches. I had to reattach a new shower head to my shower yesterday. She reattaches an entire tub, like the faucets and everything. And we don't hear a clang, a wrenching.
She's good.
It is unbelievable. It's a talent. Like, it's unbelievable how quiet
she
it
didn't even
is.
swear once.
No, she didn't swear a single time. It worked out perfectly.
Dang it, darn it.
That's right. Dang it, darn it.
heck?
Gosh darn it to Yonder Star. Also, he pours hot cocoa in this movie, and it's disgusting. It's this just like dirty brown liquid. It's not hot cocoa, and I wouldn't recommend anyone drinking it. And you mentioned it, where she gets this dress for this masquerade ball and goes back and changes, and like her hair is just done. May I suggest that surprise, a formal event is in the other room, is going to backfire sometimes.
Sometimes.
You say, hey, what are you doing? I got a surprise for you. And you take them to the location, hold up a dress and go, surprise formal event. I think it could go the way that it went, but it could also go really poorly. Dress doesn't fit, nowhere to do the hair, not prepared for formal. Like, a lot could go wrong there. Yeah, that's all I got.
With Brooke Dorsey's hair, though, it could never.
There's no way it could go
can never
wrong.
go wrong.
That's right.
He knows that.
Yeah.
She
10 out
knows
of 10
it.
all the time.
She knows it. Let's get to what the Hallmark it is, where we wonder what could have been. Maybe having us a clarity, any questions that we still have. What are we still wondering about after we watch this movie? What's your burning question, Brian?
Yeah, I thought we were going to get kind of weird with some science stuff. He's a science teacher. We didn't get really a lot of science stuff at all. So
You thought we were going to get weird
yeah,
with science?
I thought he was
Yeah,
going to
weird
throw
with
in out
it.
facts
Yeah.
left and right,
course.
talking more about explosions in space
In
and
the
whatnot.
sky. Great band.
We didn't really get we didn't really get a lot of that. So what's up with that? Is he really a teacher? How good
You
of a
don't
teacher
think he's
could
really
he
a
be?
teacher?
How good could he be if he's not
Wow.
like trying to
That is
lay
true.
out the
As
science
Dan's,
stuff?
as Dan's best friend, he talks about history all
history
the time.
nonstop.
That's right. You get it.
Selling all the time.
He's
comes up.
always selling history as if it's facts. Doug, what are you still wondering about after watching this movie?
Oh, golly. Well, first of all, I want to give props to this film's director, Jeff Beasley. He did a great job. The movies like this don't direct themselves. That said, I was left with a couple of questions. For me, it's usually character driven. I want to know the ornament store guy that was so sassy with her and then goes on TV with a completely different story to tell the press of how he was so victimized. I wanted to see him get a little comeuppance. I wanted to see it reach back around
That's right.
to him to find to have his coming to Jesus moment. I also wanted the bad lady in the town who was who was sassing her about her at the bakery, and then kind of like she was kind of hitting on Nick in front of Abby, and then kind of giving Abby the once over with her eyes, and she's all about scandal. Blah, blah, blah. And at the end there, when Abby had a great moment of Abby had a great moment of telling her off in such a kind, gentle way at the masquerade ball, and the lady just kind of put her mask back on and stormed off. I wanted to see. It's a typical Hallmark thing to see that bad character, the nemesis, also have a come to Jesus moment where they're not so bad after all, and they learn their lesson. She never learned her lesson. I wanted to see that happen.
Call me crazy.
Well,
You're crazy.
You're crazy.
Thank you. But I felt that there was some chemistry that is being suppressed between
Yeah, the science talk was like not even there.
Brotherton and his sister-in-law.
Deceased wife's sister.
There was something
Yes,
they had
for sure.
like maybe they accidentally held hands one day and they're trying not to talk about it. I felt something there, and I just want to know. I can't be alone there. I can't be alone. The chemistry was happening there, and I think there's something they're not talking about, and it's going to come up one day. It's going to come up one day, and how does that go, Dan?
I just want to know why, like, if anybody else thought this, or maybe I just was like in the dark about what agents do, but I thought it was weird that they decided to paint the agent out to be the villain at the end of this movie. I understand Brooke wants to go a different direction, and that's fine, but the agent never does anything. Like, at one point when she's like, I'm directing this play, I wrote down a half decent agent, make sure there's some press there. Like a half decent one. Like, her reputation's in tatters. She's directing this play. It didn't shock me at all when he sent the press. Now at the end, when he's there and he's like, come on, get out of this dumb town. Villain, understand that. But before that point, I felt like that was just an agent being an agent. The agent's trying to get this role for this actor, and he's kind of not telling her how bad it is, right? He's keeping that from her. And that's like what an agent's supposed to do. Like, it's easy. You got it in the bag. You just got to do one quick, read through, blah, 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 the day after Christmas. And then, he obviously hears she's directing a pageant. So he's like, this would be great. It's going to fit. It's going to help her image. We're going to get some press out there. I'm not saying that that's something I would do, but
well, let's ask Doug. Doug has experience with agent.
Yeah.
Do you think that he overstepped?
I have thoughts. No, Dan's absolutely right that it would be an agent's job. It would also pose this job to do damage control in this situation. But we had the budget for one character, I'm sure.
That's right. Yes.
That was her rep.
Yeah.
So her rep, let's say, it would be his job to do damage control and to try to, put her in the best light. She's directing a play in a small town. Perfect. But what he would not have done is sent the press there without telling her. He absolutely would have given her the heads up that they were coming and to give her a chance to say yes or no.
Yeah. And that seems like a product of the movie to keep that from occurring, right? Just to make it the misunderstanding.
Right.
Yeah.
The misunderstanding wouldn't have happened otherwise. I get it. I totally get it. Yeah.
Well, we did it, everybody.
We did
Congratulations to us. Dougie, tell the people what they need to know about what you're up to, anything that we can look forward to in 2025, or anything else you want to say.
Well, I'll tell you, because it's Christmas season now, on Christmas Day, a movie is coming out in theaters called Nosferatu.
Oh, yeah, Robert Eggers.
Right.
That's right.
Robert Eggers directed, and Bill Skarsgård in the title character. Very confusing thing happened, and that I also did a Nosferatu movie called Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, that came out on streaming services just 2 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Very confusing timing. But Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror is out on Amazon Prime and Apple TV as we speak. And the two movies are very different from each other. Yes, they both start with the Nosferatu vampire folklore, but ours is Robert Eggers did his own, reimagination of and he broadened the folklore and the backstory that got Nosferatu to be who he is. It's beautifully done, beautifully acted, beautifully shot. I predict Oscar nominations.
Did you see it already? It's not out here yet.
I did. They invited me to the premiere. Very nice of them.
Wow.
So I did go and I met everybody. Oh my gosh.
I listen, Doug. Hearing that, I've seen the trailer many times. I've just kind of been like, but hearing your. All right, I'm going.
It had some gruesome moments, some sexy moments. So it's it's a lot, but so
that's
so
Christmas for you.
That's a
classic Christmas release.
Day.
Yeah.
My Nosferatu movie is more of a scene-for-scene replica of the original silent film, but with new actors, dialogue, sound that you didn't have in a silent film, and we were combined with green-screened footage from the original film.
Oh my God!
Wow!
So I got to play in the original environment that Max Schreck did in the original role, and we were done in black and white to match that original silent film look too. So they're very different movies. But both, if you love vampires, you can love both.
Gotta check it out.
The other vampire show, What We Do in the Shadows,
that's right. Finale 2 days ago.
Yeah, the final episode was yesterday. of the entire series.
Wow.
So the Baron showed up a few more times in this final season.
You're so great, man.
I'm very sad to see this show go. It's been like a highlight of my career to be in doing a classical vampire tropes, but making ruthless fun of them and getting to play the most doofusy, goofy character ever in my life.
He's so funny, guys. Doug is so funny in this show.
Bless you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Also in the feel good pocket, I did a guest star on a TV show called Blue Ridge. It airs on INSP, Inspiration Network, and also The Cowboy Way, which is now called Western Bound, I think. I'm not sure. I don't understand all the streamers, but it's out there. It's all feel good show. Jonathan Sheck plays a small town cop, sheriff in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and so it's like, and I played a great character who lived in the woods. And am I good? Am I bad? You don't know until it unfolds in front of you. And it was very, very feel good, and it looks like he could return. My character could return again. So I'm hoping so. That'll be Blue Ridge season 2. Whenever you hear press about that, it'll be coming out.
I love it,
Doug. We love you.
You're the best, man.
This is always a highlight for us, and so we're so happy that you continue to come back and talk about Hallmark Christmas movies with us. You're the best.
Thank you for having me. This is one of my favorite things I do all year. Thank you.
We'll be back obviously next Christmas with you. Can't wait for that. And then we'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Until then, maybe the first to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Deck the Hallmark's a Bramble Jam podcast is produced by Aaron Shea. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on the Deck the Hallmark family, you can go to bramblejamplus.com. Deck the Hallmark is presented by Philo TV. For a free trial of Philo, go to philo.tv/DTH.